That's better. Okay, so welcome back if you're welcoming back to my channel. And for those who are new here, welcome to Miss Th's Thinking Out Loud. And it's a place where I try to be as authentic as I possibly can. I love makeup. I love music. Not in the sense that I know everyone who's playing. I just like to listen. So it's more about the genre than the artist, if you like. And one of my favorite genre is like your soul, R&B type, Afro gospel. And I've got this lovely playlist in the background by, I never remember the name, so bad. Okay, so this is by Grace and Soul on YouTube. And it's the Psalms in R&B style, which will touch your soul, something along that line. But I love the playlist because I hear songs that I have never heard. But yeah, so what am I doing today? I wanted to do a brow tidy, and I was, it's the Christmas season, and I kind of thought, I want to do some lashes. Why not, right? Why not? So join me as I tied my brows. I say this is one of the gifts. I know it's hard to say gift, but it was one of the gifts that 2020 gave me, which is I had to learn how to do my own brows myself, and I wasn't going to have it threaded or waxed or anything like that. So ever since, pretty much, I've learned how to do my brows, and I think I've got how to do those brows to a T. And I think this can be, so I'm just adjusting my camera, and I think this can be applicable to anyone really who wants to do their own brows, even if it's just a brow tag, like, I can try and break it down. I hope I can break it down such that you can be courageous enough to do your own brows. So what do you need? You need a spoolie, right, to brush, and you need something along these lines, something that you can use to basically tidy the brows. I think this is probably the cheapest one or easiest one that people would have, because you also use it for skin and so on if you want, or you can get one as small as this size, like that kind of length. It's not as wide as this one, as you can see, so maybe you might have better management. You don't want to go scraping all your brows off, especially if it's not something you're used to doing. But I have a theory. Should I say it's a theory? I think, yeah, well, not a theory, but I think this works for anybody, really. And the idea is, and I'm going to walk you through the steps, okay? So first of all, you want to brush your brows to know what you're working with. Now, I've got my magnifying mirror here because I can't see it very well. I wear glasses, for those who don't know. So I've got my magnifying mirror here. So if I'm looking this way, let me actually bring it into frame. Okay, so I can actually see. So you want to at least brush your brows upwards, and then in the direction in which they naturally go, or at least to the side which you want them to lay. So you start that way, brush them brows, okay? Brush them upwards, especially the front of the brows. You want to brush upwards, and then sort of like a sideways move, okay? Still going upwards, okay? Because then you really get to see the parts that you need to tidy, and so on. So there's a rule, and I think this applies to any eye shape, anybody. There's a rule with getting your brows into frame. I think that, yeah, I'll stick with that. Getting into frame. So you want to start, the beginning of your brows should start around the middle of your nostril, okay? So you can see where I'm putting this on. right in between. So what is this? My right side, it will be in between the right nostril, and this is where you want your brows to start. So you can see I've got a little bit sparse there. So this is where your brows are starting. So you know, okay, if maybe I've got a lot more hair, like sometimes I get hair here, I need to obviously do that. So this is the start of it. And I say this is similar to how you also draw your brows, but let's stick with tidying our brows today. Okay, so your brows should really start from the middle of your right or left nostril. So in my case, you can see there's just a tiny bit here which I'll tidy. Okay, now we all have a high point. Now our high point might not be like a deep one, it might be a little bit flatter, but we have a kind of point, and that's always side of nose. Okay, and just this is the iris, right? Yeah, so just kind of like the outer part of your iris. That's, you can see that's my high point. Like I'm trying to open my eye at the same time and do it. So it's kind of somewhere around here is where I'll get my sort of high point. And you can see from previous, this is kind of where it is. And then of course, this is the end of your brow. So if you were also drawing your brows, this is practically a guide that you can use as well. So the start of your brows, the sort of high point of your brows, and then this is, you know, where your brows will sort of end. So if you're really hairy, you can know where to stop. If you're drawing your brows, then again, you can decide to extend it. Okay, so to tidy, I typically start from, I kind of look like, okay, where do I want to start? I want to start from the inside, because if I get the inside right, then I can adjust and use the outer part to kind of shape. So here we go. Some people will put things like maybe pomade or maybe like a brow gel to help them really get it. So I'll do one side without the brow gel, and I'll do another side with the brow gel, just to give you options. So what I want to do is I really want to see under, because you can see I've got some growth here. So what I do, as you would if you were doing your threading, you want to pull your eyes out. For me, it's also because it's the easiest way for me to see. And you're not pulling like hard, you're just trying to just close your lid. In my case, my lids might flutter a bit, so he holds them down. Okay, so let's see. And so I then go gently, because you don't want to, do it too much, and then you have a problem. Basically, you've overdone it. So I try to pull it down gently so I can see, and then I'm just doing this up little by little until I start to see that it's clean and I have some definition. Okay, and then I start to move. I then go towards the end part. Now this is just me starting off, okay, because I don't want to overdo it. And then when I'm in, it's for my type of hair, the outer part, I need to sort of go down. I find that works easiest for me to get it nice and clean. And then I sort of do that. Now this is, for me, is going against the growth, whereas doing upwards is like going in the direction of the growth. But I go against to have it like really clean, especially around where I want from the curve section. And you want to also be careful so you don't like overdo it, because that's really important. I'm saying it over and over because it's so easy to do. You might want to have like a wet tissue, or just regular tissue around. I prefer wet tissue just so that it really cleans the tool that I'm using. Okay, yeah, so it's wet tissue, hence why it's ripping. It's not a problem. And I want to clean as I'm going so that it really gets the product. Otherwise, you might not have it as clean. So I alternate between going in the direction that's gentler, and then when I want to really have it tidy, then I go against. So I'm just making sure here that I've got my shape underneath. You see that starting to look a bit better there. Okay. Right, now I'm gonna go against, just which gives me a bit more control, a bit more of a tidy, because it really then gets to the root or bottom of the hair. Okay. All right, if you want to again use your brush just to check, or your spoolie. So I know I can see it's extending out here. We're starting with the bottom. You do the bottom till you're happy with it. Okay, again, just gentle moves. Your the skin around your eyes it's very delicate, so you don't want to drag it too much. Just enough to hold it in place and to be able to really tidy what you need out of that. So I think I'm okay with the bottom as it is. You can brush it as often as you want, just to make sure that you're getting what you know one wants a bad brow, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna do the top. Now the front is mostly okay. As I checked earlier, it's pretty much in line, but I'm gonna tidy the top because I think there's a bit of growth. Now this, I just try to like trim the top off. Be gentle because this can cut your skin, so you don't want to like press too hard, just enough to get rid of the hair in the brow. Okay. Okay, now this, I do the similar moves with the threading when they say pull up there, because I find that if I pull up the skin, then I can really see and get to those little hairs. Some people will use tweezers. If if that's something you want to do, that's an option that you can do, is just tweezers to really get to like the stubborn ones. I'm usually fine with doing this, and I pull my skin gently because I find that helps with getting like what's the word, tension that you need, just enough tension to allow um the tool, I can't get my words out, the blade to do its job. Okay, so I'm still following the curve, so I'm following the and that's like my high point there, and then I pull that so I can get that slant. Okay, and sometimes it will look like it's gone all the way down because I've been cutting downwards, and then you just brush it back up. Now for me this is fine, because I know when I do makeup I can just fill it out by either using something like a colored brow gel or fill it in with pencil as well. So there are options, but I like to tidy so that at least it looks neat. Okay, I said I was going to do the other side with and this is a clear brow gel, and this just helps give it some, especially if you have brows that are like really curly. Something like this could help with when you're trying to do the tidying. But what you also see is it helps hold those extra bits, and you can see the line from your, maybe in my case, previous one, because I now sort of have I can see the old definition. So if you press it down, you can see the lines that I need to cut. So that really helps as well, using something like either a wax or a gel. I tend to use the gel. Okay, and so this has shown me, okay, fantastic, and I've already got a template to work with, so I apply the same approach, right? I can spot just tiny in the middle there, not too much. So again, I'm just pulling down just so I have tension for this to work better without like dragging my skin. It just makes it easier, less issues on the skin, because we know our facial skin is quite delicate, and in my case sensitive as well. Any little thing, I'll just have spots or something. Okay, so again, I hold my lid otherwise it will flutter. But also it just helps with seeing what you need to do and gives a little bit of tension. And I'm not dragging, I'm just holding it down. Okay, not drag, hold, just hold it. Okay, right, let me see. So this is why it gets tricky. I probably should have done this eye first, because I think this, which one's my stronger eye? I think this is my stronger eye. I always get them mixed up. Anyway, let's get on with it. Okay, so again, I prefer to start underneath, because if I overdo it, then I sort of know what to do with the top. So again, just tidying, and I'm going upwards towards the direction of the brows itself, and I start with the inside part. Okay, I think it's looking okay, and then I sort of go to the outer part. Okay, now to be able to really get it tidy, and then I do coming down. Because now I'm going against, I can get a bit more pull and tidy. And what I do is I then see, okay, where's the middle point that I need to still tidy, which is around my high point. And then there I'll try and use like the edge, and this is where people might prefer the smaller sized type of blade. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's looking good. The bottom's looking good. I'm just gonna do some last tidy just to make sure I'm okay. Okay, there's a little bit in front there. Okay. Oi. Okay, now let's do the top. Now, the good thing with using the brow gel is I can see some extra length, so I'll just go and just try. So if you wear glasses like me, you can't see well, just make sure you see enough where to put it. So for instance, I can say, okay, I need to put it there, and then I just drag upwards, because I'm not really seeing it well, but at least if I place it on there and then put it, make sure my hand is in the right direction of where I need it to go, and then that would start to do the tidy for me. I can just pull the blade, sorry. Okay, now I do the same, just tidy. Now do remember, we all have different eye shapes, and different like thickness in our brows, and different curl patterns as well. It is hair after all. So what happens is eventually you sort of know what best works for your eyebrows, your shapes, preferences. But the whole idea, the guideline, the basis guideline for, I think, any eye shape, regardless of who you are, regardless of your shape, regardless of the fullness, is always go with the guidance, the starting point of my brow should start here, my high point should be around the outer part of my iris, and it should end somewhere around the outer corner of my lids. Once you have that as a base, then another thing which I forgot to mention, which can also help, which I just remembered, is if you feel along your brows, you also actually can know your high point. So if you feel along your brows, you have a natural shape. God is amazing when He created us, because look at that. You already have the natural shape. So some people, you find it's a little bit more straighter and then a curve. That's perfectly fine. That's our natural skull. Yeah, that's it. That's how our skulls are. We can't see it, but we can imagine it. Anyway, back to being serious. So if you feel it, you can feel it right there. Do you see that? That's like the high point, and it actually starts to feel like it's coming down. So again, feel your brows, the brows. Feel it, touch it, right? Get to know your structure, right? Knowing your structure really helps you to know where to place things. And in this case, you know that that's the beginning. If you feel your brows, you've got your high point somewhere there. So that's where maybe preference can come in. How you know, you want it on the outside, you want it in the middle. Again, check how your brow naturally grows as well. And then how do you want it to kind of droop down? The tail, as they call it. So also remember, these brows, they're never 100% exactly the same. This is where we have things like filling the brows to make them look as closely together as possible. Like I have a higher arch on this side of my face compared to this side. So I always feel like I prefer this shape because that's my desired shape. But here's a little bit wider and here's smaller. So it's almost like I've got two different eye shapes, if you like. This is a little bit wider, droopier. This is a little bit more open and higher. Subtle, but I know it. I see it. And you probably would too. So obviously I haven't used anything on here, so it's a bit more fluffy. And this is a bit more structured because I use the brow gel. So this is something that you can do if you're learning how to do brows yourself, your own brows. You know, save some money. Cost of living crisis is in this world at the moment, and I think that is everywhere. So without the brow gel, with the brow gel, you can see that this looks, I must confess, it looks better. It does look better, more structured, but it's preference. So I'm gonna just wipe both sides. And I like using the wet tissue because it really gets rid of like any extra hairs that is on there, and also just to cool it because you have put a blade to your eyebrows. Let's face it. So you need something that's nice and cooling, which is why I like wet tissues. Or you can use makeup wipes, just for that. And I just do that to, nice and gentle. Okay. All right, dry that out. If you feel like it's too dry, just put face cream all over. And then I'm not doing my makeup at the moment because I just wanted to do my brows, and we use this to see how well we like it. If you want to do like maybe you just want a nice brows but you want to go out, you can put the colored brow. So I always, if I was to recommend anything to you, have a clear brow gel or wax to your preference, and also have a colored one that's closest to your eyebrow hair color. So then that gives you a fuller brow but more natural looking as well. So especially if your hair is maybe a bit more sparse or you've got gaps that you need to fill. Yeah, and so ta-da! Oh, and that's my brows all done. Hope you enjoyed that. Have a fantastic time. Bye.